truth and justice shines like the sun in all of its brilliance. The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is a filling love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, and you lay down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. This is amazing grace. This is a filling love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross, and you lay down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. And when you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring. And when you walk into the room, every heart starts burning. Nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. And when you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring. And when you walk into the room, every heart starts burning, and nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship you. starts to vanish. Every hopeless situation, it ceases to exist. And when you walk into the room, the dead begin to rise, 'cause there is resurrection life in all you do. That verse again. And when you walk into the room, sickness starts to vanish. Every hopeless situation ceases to exist. And when you walk into the room, the dead begin to rise, 'cause there is resurrection life in all you do. And we love you, and we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. We want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. We want you. One more time. Oh, come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission. Our hearts are yours. We want you. We love you, and we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. We love you, Lord, and we'll never stop. We can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus.
Good morning. And now I travel at you. How fun is that? We're just wanting to mix it up. We got to keep you guys on your toes. Happy to see you all on another great Sunday morning. I woke up and went outside and there was a cold breeze and I was like, "Ooh, I like this. Is it fall? Let's get going. Let's get started." But I know I have summer lovers in the room, so I won't give you too much hate. If you like burning, then I guess there's something to be said for you too, I guess. But couldn't be me. I'm ready for this fall weather. I'm ready to get my sweaters out. So happy for a little bit of that. But happy to just be together again. And it's been reshared on the Facebook page, but our luau is coming up. If you're feeling a little tropical, if you're not ready to let go of summer yet, we got you. It's going to be a great time. We encourage you to invite your friends and your family, whoever you want to have come. We're going to have food. We get to talk, which is, I think, our favorite occupation in this church outside of praising Jesus. We like talking. And we will have some fun games and things to do. Wear your best Hawaiian dress or just your regular dress. We just want you to come dressed, but we want you here, and we're excited to have you here. So please join us 2 weeks from now on Sunday night.
Thank you, hon. I was thinking about our lives are interesting, aren't they? Every one of us. I don't believe one is here this morning that you have not lived an interesting life. I divide my life into 3 segments. my education. The first round, our quartet went through, sang in like 8 different states, a lot of traveling, cut an album. Those were the second segment of my life. Then the third one, after 20 years, a preacher from Versailles with a bass voice called and said, heard about your group, wanted to know if you would try me out as a bass singer. Can we get together? So another 3 years we sang with him. And nothing beats pastoring a church with lovable people. I got something up my sleeve, yeah, I do. I'm buttering you up. I wouldn't trade you people for a congregation of 300 to 500 people. That's in my heart. I wouldn't make that trade. But I was thinking, Sean and a co-worker a few years ago was headed for Dallas from Springfield, Missouri, and they saw this bus, fancy bus, sitting off an embankment down, and it was on its top, so it was on its wheels. It was Mother's Day. Of all things, it was Mother's Day, and the queen of gospel music writing, Dottie Rambo, she was on her way to an engagement to preach on Mother's Day, and the bus went off the road, and Dottie had a very fragile back, and I think that her back situation probably kind of led to her death, but Dottie passed away in that bus accident. Gloria got very little sleep last night, going over and over of what happened, couple days ago. Holly knows it better than me. Rex Nealon, what would it be, his daughter, her husband, and their young daughter was on a plane, a Learjet, and they was headed toward Alaska to be with Bill Gaither and the big singing group, and they crashed. I'm certain they didn't suffer. It was just a ball of fire. Bill and Gloria Gaither flew to Seattle, I believe, to be with the remaining daughter of Rex's and her husband and a soon-to-be baby. And so they went to comfort them and support them. So let's not let this service go by, but what we don't pray for the whole family. And, you know, it doesn't have to be tough to lose a sister, brother-in-law, and a very beautiful young daughter. What a blow, what sadness. Gloria's experiencing that today, and we didn't get much sleep last night. Our minds wouldn't shut down. But the singing in Alaska, if they go ahead with it, will be a very sad one. So let's do remember them this morning before the service is over. And thank you, Hun, for your announcements. Sean Middleton, come up and step on our toes, scratch up our shoes, and just preach us a challenging message.
Good morning, all. Morning. God is good, and we'll definitely keep that in mind, Richard. All of us. I don't know why I've been not necessarily just the sense of loss, but I've been really nostalgic lately over time passage and just here we are. And I don't know if you've done that mental exercise where you're like so usually people remind me, and it'll be some event, and it'll be like, man, we did that a couple of years ago. And I'm like, no, we did that 10 years ago. It's like, where'd that go? And I'm that much more so captivated by how we live today, how we choose to utilize today, and how do you make the best of everything you've been given. And that's not this message this morning, but Richard kind of bringing that down to earth. That do you live like life like today's the last day? And I'm not trying to be morbid, but it's a great lesson for all of us to acknowledge that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed the rest of today. So what are you doing with your day? And that wasn't the message, but that's a really good thought. So I'll give you kudos for that. We'll definitely keep that in mind. My funny this morning is based on the things that we all do and run across, that we all have those little quirks in life that, anyway, I thought these were kind of cute. There were just several of these. I thought these were kind of funny. A woman noticed her husband standing on the bathroom scale, and he was really sucking in his stomach. Hey, that's not going to help, she said. He said, sure it does. It's the only way I could read the numbers. You got to do. When I see two lovers that have carved their names into the trees, I don't really think about how cute it is. My mind keeps wondering, how many people take knives on their date? Like, what kind of date you go on? I don't know. I just said, if you want someone to really listen to the conversation, start it with this. I really shouldn't tell you this, but, and watch how people pay attention. I thought this is cute, thinking about little Asher, but cleaning with kids in the house is kind of like brushing your teeth with Cheezies. Or Cheetos, whichever one you want to do that. A thief broke into my house last night. He was looking for money. So I woke up and I searched with him. Let me help you out. We'll see what we can find out together. And last one, quick one. I thought this was kind of cute. There's nothing worse than stepping on a Lego right before stepping on a marble. So if you're going to have kids and you're going to have things all over, get ready. Or if Asher's going to have a birthday party and have all these toys and you put him in his stroller, assume there's going to be a litany and spread debris field of all the new toys that are in his way. Anyway, that was kind of fun too. Gotta love that little stinker. So God is good in the middle of everything. I don't know if sometimes, usually, there's parts of me that's been lining up as I'm discussing things, but I want to talk to you this morning about why God will give you more than you can handle. So let that sink in for a minute. You're like, wait a second. More than I can handle? That doesn't sound right. I don't want more than I can handle. I'm the one handling things. I want just right, or just a little bit. Is that okay? Is that what most people kind of come back to a base or a premise of? Is, whoa. And the phrase, young people today wouldn't understand the phrase to say, uncle, too much, stop. Or the wrestler on the mat to be like, whoa, tap me out, I'm done, I've given up. And we can do that not just in a wrestling connotation, but in life. We can just feel like, enough. I cry uncle. I know young people be like, cry uncle, that's weird. But it is. Those of us that know that connotation are like, oh yeah, that's what you say. Or, enough. Tap the mat. Ref, give me a break. I need a stop. But the point is, in life, struggle is a fact of life. It's not something that we separate from life and somehow, in our efforts, in our best efforts, seek to remove struggle from our experience, our human condition, such that we can have what we consider to be an easy time. That's what we'd like, or at least we think we'd like that. At least we think we would like that. And this is one of these things. And we're reminded, John 16:33, in this world, you will have trouble. I mean, that's Jesus' words. Like, a few days a man is full of trouble. And the proverb, too. We've got lots of reference here that I want to use from the Word to help in this discussion. Because I I'm an honest enough person to want to look at this from the perspective of, wait a second, we know what it's like to have things kind of easier. How many of you like it? Life gets so busy, but like, even last night, Holly and I, we had a busy day, but we finally got home. How many of you like that feeling when you get ready for bed early, and you got the evening ahead of you, and everything's put away and cleaned up and taken care, and it's just like, it's time to relax. Now, if every day's that, then maybe that's something different. But if you've done something and you're like, I need a moment to recoup, recommit, whatever you want to call it. I'd like things to go easy for a while. And one thing will snap you out of that. And like, couldn't I just have a few moments of peace or something like that? It's easy to get caught in that mentality, that perspective that says, life would be better if I simply had it easy. And it's easy to think that way when you're going through something difficult or struggle, as is the norm in our human condition. And I also want to touch on something, and I want to bring up the scripture verse to base it. We were in Sunday school, we were talking about there are some things, and I should do this at some point for a message, things that people think are in the Bible that aren't. Like there's a lot of phrases people use that they're like, you'll hear them and you'll be like, oh, and Christians will say them, and it's easy to take for granted and think that's a verse. And it's like, no, that's not a verse. Somebody added that. Kind of like Sean was alluding to with some of the church people back in the day. They were adding to the word and kind of like, oh, we know how to make things right. We'll just add along. But here's one. We assume God doesn't give us more than we can handle. And the reason we do that is we take the verse, which is a wonderful verse that says, he will not allow you to be tempted above what you are able, knowing what God's like holding the enemy on a chain there, so to speak, of what he knows you're ready for and able to handle. But when it comes to the difficulties, the struggle we find ourselves in, there is no verse saying he has a limit and he stops it. Like, well, Sean, I don't know if I like hearing this. What you're talking about, stepping on toes. Believe me, I'm preparing this message at home on my own, and I'm like, this is going to ouch a little. But that's okay. Follow along with me. It's a good thing. Because the reality is, ask this question for yourself. If that's true, then why would God give me more than I can handle? Remember Arsenio Hall back in the 80s? You have that TV program. Things that make you go, The young people once again be like, Arsenio Hall, who's that? Different, again, that's another generational piece. But why would he do that? Unless, wait a second, light bulb. Could it be that in those times when I feel beyond my abilities, I feel at my wit's end, when I feel like there's no more in me, that he shows up and is my Redeemer, my strength, my portion forever, the lifter of my head? What do all those verses mean if there's a point where you were designed to handle everything on your own without him? Then why do we have all those verses? Why are we more than conquerors through him who loved us? What's the premise there? Through him. Why am I an instrument of righteousness for his name's sake? An instrument. A yielded vessel that can be utilized to do something bigger than myself. Obviously, I'm kind of laying out the premise a bit. But it is so easy to acknowledge and say, God, Uncle, I can't take anymore. When the point is, if we'll be honest with God, wait a second. Let's have that prodigal son light bulb moment there, if we can allow ourselves to say, perhaps what's happening here is I'm busy stressing and struggling in my own ability, not recognizing that he was designing me to utilize his ability the whole time. And at what point, now this is where things get right down to the rubber meets the road kind of premise. If you and I were designed for great, amazing things through him who loved us, and he allows you to get to your wit's end, is it to stress you out and just make your life miserable? Or is it to finally get us to the point where we'll acknowledge our dependence on him our need for him, our stubborn pride and will getting out of the way in order to let him play a beautiful melody through our lives. Is that what it means to be an instrument of righteousness for his name's sake? Is that what that means? So that, I mean, and it begs this wonderful question. Why do we keep finding ourselves at our wits' end when we know he has the resource to help? Why do we do that? Because we're stubborn as all get out. Is that it? Is that the answer? That I mean, people, I'm up here preaching, and there's a big old bullseye on my chest, and I'm taking every bit of this word myself. This is all at me. I've said for a while, this is my favorite type of preaching is to get on me, and if you happen to be in the bullseye too, then we're in good company, because God knows us instinctively. He knows us better than we know ourselves, frankly. And he knows, will you stretch yourselves and grow to where he wants you to go on your own? Oh, there's another one. Would you be where you are today if it weren't for struggle? There's a good question. Would you have surmounted the challenge and had the grace and disposition that you have today, the patience? Would you, Sean, I'm still working on that. Okay. Okay, fine. Everything's a work in progress. We all have something. But here's a wonderful premise to consider. That challenge in front of you now, you're uniquely qualified to circumvent and overcome because of where he's brought you, what he's brought you through, to and through. And could you handle what you have today if it wasn't for what you've been through already? That joking, I know that movie Billy Madison is so funny because we can't imagine going back and repeating kindergarten all the way through the grades. No thank you. Junior high, any of it, right? But the point is, why do we move on to the next grade? Because you graduate. Because you learn something, hopefully. Because you overcame something. Even when that teacher, boy, I don't like that teacher. They keep pushing me. But you know what? If you're honest with yourself, some of the best teachers I ever had were the ones that pushed me. The best ones. You can say, oh, I love that teacher. That teacher was a pushover. But did they challenge you to be a better version of you? And now you think about, and we went through Father's Day, and I love the song. Sean had it up there, A Good, Good Father. I like that song, that premise, being a dad myself and now grandpa. I love that. And that verse just becomes so crystal clear to me. You being broken in your sin and depravity here in this life, in this earth, if you know how to be good, how much more so the Heavenly Father? And I guess my premise, as I kind of take a step back and look at this through that lens, that fatherly, loving, abiding lens, if God has my best interest in mind all the time and he allowed me to go through struggle, was he doing it just to knock me down and watch me suffer? Was that his intent? And why is that our first reaction? God, what'd you do this to me for? Would you let me get to this point? Why do we do that to those we love? Why do we do that to those we love that we know instinctively care for us, and yet we'll still drag them around because we're frustrated at whatever circumstance? And frankly, what we're frustrated at is ourselves. We're frustrated that we're at our wits' end when the point is we weren't designed to carry this load on our own. We weren't designed for it. The Maker had a different purpose for you. You were an instrument of righteousness for his name's sake, meaning when it's too much, that's when he carries the load. I love that footprints in the sand analogy, and that's not in the Bible, but it's on a lot of people's fridge. But I love the premise because it's backed up by the scriptural premise that before you were formed, I knew you. I know the very hairs of your head, they're numbered. When you're struggling and you're shaking your fist at me, I'm carrying you, kicking and screaming through your problems in life. I've been there the whole time. I will never leave you or forsake you. That is what his word says. What does that mean? That even though I'm the one cursing his name over my circumstance, he's still lovingly holding me through it. Think about your child, and I can think about little Asher. Asher wants to go. You get, and, I'm like, Asher, come here. And when he's like, oh, yeah, Pop. He got put his arms, he's not saying it right. But it's like his arms are up. Pop, rescue me from whoever's got me. And, it's easy to be like, oh, Asher wants to be with Pop. And I get him and I squeeze. And what's the next thing in the next second? Oh, no. I just want somebody to rescue me so he can put me down and I can run in life. Are we that way with God? Rescue me so I can go on my own way. Thanks very much, God. I got this. I'm good. And little Asher is definitely like that. Like, see ya, Pop. I'm on my way. Vroom. But rescue me out of my situation so that you can set me free. And then let me go, because I got this. I got this. Until Asher's like, looking like a little 1-year-old drunken sailor he is, walking as unsteady, fast as his little legs can carry him, and then all of a sudden, squirrel. And his legs are still going this way, and what's next? Flop. And proverbially, what do we look like to God? I hadn't had that crystal reality check until this moment. Do we look like a drunken sailor toddler to God the way we struggle through life many times? When we're cursing him and mad at him Asher will get mad at you, because he got hurt. Like, we didn't cause your hurt, Asher. He doesn't understand. But we do that at our wits' end. We're frustrated with our Maker or those we love around us. When we're frustrated at ourselves, we're just not. Ego doesn't let us blame ourselves well, right? It's easier to put that off on someone else. Can't be me. It's kind of like we were talking about in Sunday school a little bit about it's easy to point out that speck in your eye because you're not doing something right, and I'm looking through this beam in my own eye that's obscuring my vision while I'm trying to look at your faults, and mine are magnified, and the whole time. That's why that's such a telling verse, because it just screams of the hypocrisy we do ourselves. This isn't just Christians. This is most people that fall prey to the ego trip of, I can do this myself. I've got this. And it's not saying that we don't have great ability with what God's given us. He's given us all things that pertain to life and godliness. So what's that mean? He watches us, keeps us, but he'll challenge us. Why? Why would a loving God challenge us? The same way you'd challenge your children. Okay, I was going to say this is a funny analogy, but unfortunately in our society today we see this. To see an adult acting like a toddler, we've had that, unfortunately. But to see an adult crying and screaming and throwing themselves to the ground like a temper tantrum because they're not getting their way, and unfortunately we have that happening, and people catch them on video and they end up online. But the reason that looks so foolish to everyone outside is we've got to go through the challenge so we can graduate past what we go through. We don't stay toddler. We move on to the next phase, the next step. And the challenge is what propels us, whether we like it or not. And it's such a great analogy to think back and acknowledge. I like to refer to things in life as punctuation marks, meaning those moments that really stand out. You graduated high school. You accomplished a big project. Giving birth to a child. Everything in life that you think of, like, oh, I did that, or I accomplished that, I surmounted that. Did it happen because of ease? Did it happen because you sat in a seat of do nothing? It took something. It was they're so sweet, many of those victories. Watching the Olympics right now, we love the Olympics. What is it that's so exciting at watching that young person getting the gold medal? Because we instinctively know, or maybe we don't fully know, but we can imagine after watching those little stories, the struggle they went through to get there. You don't end up in Paris right now competing for the gold because you decided last week. I mean, that's silly to think that. And I know I gave you that one, I love that little story of it was a violin player. And somebody came up to him and said, oh, I'd sure like to play like you. And they're like, You might think you want to get up here on the stage and play like me, but you want to give up the hours I gave up to struggle, to stress, when I did it wrong and I had to do it, I had to keep practicing until I could do it right. Do you want to do that? Is that what you want? Because that's what it took to get there. Even the greatest preachers, I've heard that about preachers for years. Like, oh, I'd like to be a preacher up there in front of everybody, giving the word. Like, do you want to go through the heartache and struggle it takes to have a burden within you? Richard knows that all too well, that you're carrying a burden for lost souls in order to bring this word with the effectiveness that it needs to be conveyed with. It's a powerful, this is a weighty task. I don't take this lightly, and I don't think any when minister of the word ever does. That knowing, what's it take to get there? Could you do that? Well, of course, there's no limitation with you and God. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Because why? Because just like Jesus, I'm able to take that acknowledgement of, I can do nothing except the Father tells me and sends me. And it takes me and some of my ego out of the way. I had this reality check a while back. Just so you know, I haven't even cracked my notes. I don't know if that's good or bad. I know what I wanted to get through, but maybe God leads you the way you want to go. But when it comes to the things in life that we're looking for, looking at what's in front of me, what I need to deal with today, and where I want to be. And it's an honest question to ask you, where would you be without struggle? See, sometimes, yes, we can cry out, God save me. And sometimes we need walked around and comforted. And there's moments everybody needs something different in life. I can take anything, right, from a situation. He can help me out. The point is, where's your focus? So let's do this, because I do want to take you to Matthew 8:23. Let's do that verse. Here, look, I'm good way through my message. I'm just now getting to an object lesson message. But this one's great. Matthew 8:23. And what we don't see ahead of time is Jesus taking all the disciples, and here's a great point. Jesus asked all the disciples, get on the boat. They went out to the Sea of Galilee. And if you know anything about the Sea of Galilee, storms can arise quickly, and it can be pretty tempestuous, right? Big waves, lots of wind, all those things. So here's a great point. When we're in our struggle, and the waves come, and the winds beat on us in life, it's easy to be like, God, you're the one that told me to take this trip. Ugh. How many disciples said that before this verse? How many disciples were thinking, I wouldn't have got on the boat if it wasn't for you? Anyway, what's it say? Now, when he got on the boat, his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a great tempest arose on the sea, and the boat was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. And there's an object lesson in this verse that is so powerful. Was Jesus sleeping because he was indifferent to their plight? Was he not aware that there was going to be potential for storms? He probably could see the clouds were kind of rolling up, and who knows? Why was Jesus sleeping? And in our lives, do we feel that way when we're going through something difficult? Whether it's God or even those around us. You must be sleeping. You don't care. And it's easy to fall prey to that ego of, in my power, I'm missing out, or I don't have the ability within me. And to not acknowledge that there's a power that's greater than me, that if I'll allow, that I can allow myself to be a conduit, a vessel for amazing, wonderful things. And it takes that stinking ego out of the way. The pride that basically hinders my abilities to do better than me. If I'm honest, I know there's a great amount of things I can do with my hands and my abilities. I can build something, and there it is. This church sanctuary didn't exist until many of us put our hands together and physically put things together and made it come to a being. But it was God's divine intervention and his desire at our hearts that drove us and compelled us. And look what exists as a result. And look at the souls that have been changed, that have walked through these doors. If I don't acknowledge God's ability through me, I am missing out on a bigger picture. It's almost like, you ever been looking at something so close that sometimes you got to back up because you don't see the forest for the trees? You back up, you need a new perspective to acknowledge, wait, is this suffering unto death, or is this suffering propelling me into my future? And then here's a great question, and I want to finish this verse. You might think King David from the Old Testament was a wonderful king, but it took a Goliath to make him king. Think about that. His path to the kingship was through Goliath. What's yours? What's your Goliath? What is it that's stopping you or standing in your way that seems insurmountable, but by your own eyes, it looks like a mountain? And that's why Jesus is like, you can speak to this mountain. And people are like, how do you pick up a mountain and move it? And he's like, now we're talking about faith. Now we're talking about eyes that can't see, but in your mind's eye, knowing the strength that you're tapping into, there's no limitation. How do you do that? How do you get to that point? Trust and obey, for there's no other way to happy Jesus. It's a good song. So, let me finish my verse. Tempest arose. Jesus was sleeping. The disciples came to him and woke him up, saying, Lord, save us. We're perishing. There's just this object lesson that I just like to be able to acknowledge right then and there. But this is a good example for all of us. When Jesus left, what did he say? I'm sending the Comforter. He's going to be here and in you. So the same kind of thing. They were on the boat. The waves looked scary. The master's in the bow. And they were frightened for their lives. What's wrong with this picture? The answer was in the bow, sleeping, so to speak. I don't know if he was really sleeping or not, if he was just like keeping his eye open, like, what are they going to do? What do you do? What do we do with little Asher when he's taking his first steps? What do I want to do? We want to run up there and grab him because he's going to fall. He could fall, but how's he learn to walk? Does he walk on his own if I'm always holding him? At some point, the kids have to take the I taught the girls and my niece and nephew's bicycle riding. And it's like, at some point, it's a little scary. I got to take those training wheels off. Now they got to learn to ride on their own, and they could fall, and they could get hurt. And it's that character in Finding Nemo, but something could happen. I love that dad character in that show. It's the epitome. Like, but something bad could happen. You're my little one. I don't want to let you go. But I don't grow if I don't go through the struggle. What do you think God's heart is when he thinks about us that way? A true father's heart. I want what's best for you. That means I can't just shield you all the time. I want you to grow through this. I want you to lean on me and watch the Goliaths fall in front of you. I want to see you achieve such amazing things because I'm right there ready to scoop you up. That's why Asher's going to learn to run, and he's going to learn to fly pretty soon. It's coming. And I'm going to just sit back like a grandpa that's just proud as all get out. Why? Because I'm there ready to help scoop up whatever I need to do in the meantime. But I've got to let him, he's going to fall and get some knocks along the way. He's going to get some bruises and bumps, and you and I have them. And it's not because God's a bad God or uncaring, unfeeling. The sleeping in the bow is not indifference. It's peace over the situation. He was modeling for them the attitude to have in the midst of the storm. So what happened? He does. Lord, we're perishing. Why are you fearful, O you of little faith? Was he scolding and condemning them? No, he was calling them into something deeper. Don't you recognize the Savior's with you? You're looking in the natural, and it's scary, and it is, and I don't discount that, but you've got to see it through eyes of faith that are bigger than your situation. When you put on his persona, then you can look at problems like David and say, that Goliath is big, but he is not covenant, and he's defying the armies of the living God. Oh, heck no, is he going to stand on my watch? Have you heard that meme? I love it. It was talking about ladies, or it could be anybody. And it's like walking into adversity in life, recognizing you're a child of God. And it said, somebody may have thrown something bad at you, but I straighten my crown, and I march towards it. I love that. I thought that was a cute little meme that's out there. What's it mean? The recognition, like the prodigal. Who am I to sit here dwelling in filth when my servants in my Father's house are doing better than me? I'm going back home. I'm going to the source of strength I need in the difficult times. I'm going to the one that can pull me through, that can not take away the difficult times, but see me through them so that I grow, so that I can look back at those things and declare the works of the Lord. I had a whole verse on that discussion that says that one that was brought to Jesus, and they said, well, this guy's been born blind. Who sinned, him or his parents? And they're like, neither. But that the works of God can be manifest. Whoa, what does that mean? It means that in this life we will have suffering, we will have difficulty, we will have trials and testings. But never fear, I've overcome the world, he said. Overcome your faith. It's the thing, it's the essence of what's going to give you the strength, the resolve to make it through. And so, look at this. I'm going to my last page of discussion. So what do I want to leave you with as I'm kind of winding down here is this premise. And I want to take you to, we don't have time to read the whole verse, but if we go back to the children of Israel, when they were being pulled out of Egypt, pulled out of bondage and slavery and depression. Sounds good, except they ended up in front of a Red Sea. And they were mad as hornets at God, at Moses for daring to trust God and lead them there. Because here comes the chariots. Here comes the difficulty. Here comes the anxiety. It's the Pharaoh's army. It's whatever in life is calling you back to, I would have been better off enslaved in Egypt. That was their admission. That was their difficulty. It's the same thing we go through. It's easy to do that. I'm not making light. Maybe it's part of our human nature and condition, but it means I'm not walking by faith. I'm walking instead by sight. Walk by faith, not by sight. What is that? That effort that says that in me many times dwells no good thing. I tend to want to go the wrong direction. I've got to recognize a source above me that will help steer the ship the right way, to get me back on course, to get me where I need to be. So what's the story here? The children of Israel are trapped. They're mad at Moses and God and everyone around them. And their first thinking inclination was, I had it better when I was enslaved. They were literally being beat and enslaved by the things in their life. And God was trying to pull them out, but yet they had a Red Sea in front of them. So what's the end result? God wrought an amazing, miraculous miracle in front of them, right? Red Sea parted. God took off, washed away the army that was coming against them. The anxiety, the depression, all washed away. And then they sang this wonderful song of victory and power and God's goodness and premise of all those things. There's just one problem. What's the problem, Sean? That's great. It's wonderful. It's like the one we won. But they sang the song on the wrong side. Why? Because they didn't see it through eyes of faith like David did. David knew Goliath was going down before he went down. While he was still facing him, because of his words, you could tell. David said, oh, I don't think so. Oh, I don't think so. You think you're going to defy the armies of the living God? He talked with such confidence, his brothers made fun of him. Remember that part of the story? That lets you know he was talking. They thought, oh, what's this little thing think? He's like, you don't understand. God's already brought me through difficult times. He delivered me from the lion and the bear. This Philistine is going to be like, just like them. I already see the victory ahead of this. And we can look at Israel and think, what a wonderful song of victory on the other side of the Red Sea. But think how much more glorious it would have been if they had been singing that song on the other side. It gives me goosebumps to think about it. Can we have that level of faith with God? Is there anything impossible to God? And that's why that centurion turned Jesus' head when he said, I've got somebody sick at home. And Jesus is like, well, let's go to your house. And he's like, no. There's only one thing I do understand. There are two things, really. He just didn't say it out loud. I understand authority because I'm a man under authority. I have people, and when I say come, they come. When they say they go, they go. I understand authority, but what he also did was not outright verbalizing was, you're the Christ. I know you have the goods. So just speak the word. You don't need to go to my house. Man, that would change our prayer lives in this place. It's what we're saying. That's what we're saying in Eyes of Faith, is acknowledgement that if he's who he says he is, why am I limiting the Holy One of old? Why am I boxing God up when he was meant to shine in every part of our lives, in every dark point? He was there, though I'm concerned, I'm so struggling with that valley of shadow of death. What's the story? I don't fear. It may look difficult and dark, but I'm not fearful because I know the goods he has. His rod and staff comfort me. He's going to prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. I love the Psalm 23 now. Man, I know it's on every refrigerator everywhere out there. It gets read at most funerals. But that is a powerful set of verses to acknowledge what God is in the midst of our difficulty. So, right song, wrong side of the Red Sea. Think about this week. That's if I could have a prayer or anything through this discussion, is God will give you more than you can handle. Don't get mad. Look at that as a stepping point in life. Instead, look, oh, devil, oh, you just set me up for a massive victory. God, where are you going to take me next? I wouldn't have come to trouble like this. My trouble seems bigger than I can handle. OMG, the blessing is going to be so awesome. Why don't I look at my difficulties like that? Oh, you just set me up for a victory, enemy. Oh, get ready for what God's going to do now. I can't even have imagined that. Just watch, wait and see what good things that God's going to do through you and in you as you continue to walk this journey with him. Pray with me this morning. Lord, I just thank you for your goodness, your blessings. In all things, you're good, and your mercy endures forever. Like, if we think about what your word means and what we really have at stake here, we wouldn't just question you when difficult things come. Frankly, would we get excited? Would we count it as all joy when we fall into difficult times? Paul got this. He went through a difficult, acknowledged how good God was through that storm, through those difficult times. And we can do the same with you if we trust you and we'll be honest about who we are and our relationship to you. Thank you for helping us walk this journey and help us recognize your goodness all along the way. We praise you, Lord. Amen.